drilling the steam input for the crankshaft. It's a 4mm hole. I'm going to make the crankshaft 10mm in this case, so I can tap an M10 on this part of the shaft to attach it to something or a stand. Taking the diameter of the crankshaft down to 10mm. Okay, crankshaft is the main parts machined down. Pretty much pretty good. I gave it some emery cloth around the outside, but there's a blemish right there. I put a shoulder so the whole thing doesn't rub in there. Oh yeah, I drilled these out as well. All I'll have to do is clean the end off here and get this the right height. So it will touch there and has to be dead center on the outside edge of that thing, minus 3mm. Took a while to machine this much off for that 20mm bar. That's 10mm. 3D printer's coming in very handy for making little hole templates. I locate on that 12mm hole. I've got the size, the outer size, and the 4 holes needed. And there, fits in there perfect. Not even any really good movement. A little bit, but not much to worry about. All we're going to do is square it up to the edge, super glue it on, and drill through those 4 existing holes. I made one for each side just in case I elongate the holes with the drill. But normally I just glue them on, spot the holes, and then I won't have to worry about it. And then I'll just drill all 4 holes in one go. Going to tap the master conrod ring. One of them's gonna be welded in, like so it's the master. One has to be fixed and the other ones are floating. So I have to tap an M2 into these 5 holes. It's going to be fun. Drilling the cam location is going to be tapped to 4mm to take that thread in the end of this. This will be located on there. Has to be threaded because you can't feed it into the block having all these attached, especially when that one's welded. You have to slide it into the casing and then position that way. This works good. And V-block holder. Alright, got the bush made. It's a snug fit on the shaft itself. outer diameter of the shaft of the bush is, oh, we're going to focus, are we? So we're 12, oh, come on, 12.5 plus the 3, that's 0.8, and then 4 little notches, so it's 12.84 compared to, oh, what do we got there? We got 12.7 as the inside of this. So if I heat this up a bit, I should be able to just drop that straight in, and when it cools it should sit in there tightly, hopefully. It's the first time I've done a bush and something like that. But as you can see in there, I can only measure this end, and I can't measure in there with any of my tools, won't fit down in there. And the mini lathe does bore out a little bit less in the depth because it flexes too much. So over this distance I didn't really notice it, but that's in brass. It's steel, so it's sort of it may or may not go in. So I reckon if I heat it up, it should just drop in. I'll have to do it this way because I made it proud by 0.5 millimeter so it can run on the brass instead of on the metal. I could change it, but I was looking at a thrust bearing, needle bearing type, because they're only like 4 millimeters thick all up. But I don't think, but the outer diameter is 24. I need a 20. You can't buy a 20, and I can't machine them down because I don't think there's enough meat on them to machine them down. I'll be able to put a thrust bearing on this side, no problem. It would be better if there was one in there. Be less friction. I'm waiting on the thrust bearings anyway to determine if I can actually machine the outer ring of the thrust bearing to fit into there. I could try grooving and putting small bearings around a circle, but just sit up under that lip here, maybe. So there's a couple of options. Oh, managed to get the bush in there. I used the heat gun here. This apparently goes up to 600 degrees apparently. I got this up to 200 in about 10 minutes, just sitting on this block here on the rise. And I sort of tapped it in a bit, and then I used the vise to squeeze it in, because the hammering wasn't really doing much. And I had to machine out the center again a bit because it's shrunk in there from being too tight, I think. I think it was like 1.4 undersized or oversized, depends which way you want to look at it. But that turned out better because it was a bit sloppy on the shaft beforehand, and now the shaft is good. Doesn't go in that way, but it's really smooth. And the bonus was I managed to make it a lot smoother on the inside than it was originally. It's a 0.5 millimeter out that end, so the actual cam will sit on it, will be bearing on the brass. And then the other end, I'm gonna have a, if it fits, a thrust bearing, a needle type, not a ball bearing. Well, that was my first bush I've ever placed. I was expecting to have to machine it out and redo it, but it actually worked. Project's coming along. I've roughly still TIG welded that. I burnt the nut. It just vaporized in about a second. But that won't matter. it's in there, it's held up, so that's the fixed con rod. I've drilled the holes for the heads. They're a 2.5mm hole, and I've drilled the crankcase settings using the templates. Same with these, use the templates. That's a good idea to do. Saves a lot of marking out, and you got them all exactly the same. I have to tap these to 2.5 metric. It's going to take a while to tap because the tap's really thin, can break easy. I think I've only got the one tap for the 2.5. And then I'm going to face this off in the lathe, and the next job will be setting up the mill to face these edges. Take half of the sides off where the bolts will be. It's going to be about there, missing, a bit in the center, and it's got to have a hole drilled through one side and also in the center for the steam to come through. I have my piping, air conditioning 4mm. I'm gonna have to make up a pipe bender to bend the elbow because that would just crush. So I'm thinking I'm gonna make a little pipe bender. Actually, I might do that before I turn it back into the mill while I've got the lathe, because I'm gonna have to make a round cylinder with the pipe shape carved into it. I've got the collet retainer made. It's the thickness of that piece of paper out from the bore of that shaft to the faces. So it spins freely, but not as free as it should. There's no movement in it, but see, I can't really spin it by holding it off down. Take that out. Alright, see. Now I can spin it pretty freely. It's smooth, it doesn't go in and out. I can use the where are they? Here they are. The pin thrust bearings. They actually fit in the inside, so but I don't have the how I machined it up now. These are like about 3mm thick. I'd have to remachine in there and take some off of the shaft to make the conrod center. I can put one here, but it doesn't seem to be any different to this, but I haven't greased them. So I think I might just run it with the collar first, and then maybe if it's not spinning as good, put one of them in here. And then if that still doesn't work, I've tried it in there and they both work and it seems to spin really good. But then I'm way out here with the center. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to, that's a little roller to form the pipe, to bend the tube. I'm hoping this is just a test one to see if it fits. The 4mm copper pipe. I've made it solid. I'm going to have to use real steel pins down the center onto a plate which holds it. So I'll check that out. Yeah, there's the little roller. It fits perfect. So I'm going to make another one now. Make up a little metal pin that fits in them both. That'll be just basic bender. So it'll be like one there, one on the outside, a stopper, and a little arm on the outside. Just pull it around. Should work. Oh, I'm gonna have to just lathe that up if it doesn't work. It's pretty easy to bend. I'll straighten that with no great difficulties just by drawing my fingers up it. Okay, I've used pins. This is just a 2.5mm welding rod. the pins. I think the spacing's a bit too loose maybe, because the second bend, well, one focus, it's sort of okay. That first bend I just put it in the vise and bent it around there, so it's definitely works better than just bending it, you know, that's not even bent as much. So I could keep it like that, or I might try putting some sand in there at a later date, or I might have to adjust these. But when you stick this in there, it's quite tight. Very tricky. I think I need a slightly larger bend radius on this one here. They're both the same size at the moment. So I'll make a new one of them and this arm. Working on the little form rollers for the copper pipe bending. Not sure if it has to go past half, but it's 2.5 deep. It's only 4 mil. I sharpened up a bit of tool steel, made a forming tool of the same shape as that pipe. I can go deeper with the forming tool than I can with the parting blade. Seems to get this far and then it becomes dangerous. It keeps trying to jam up and this thing speeds right up and then it flips up on top of the tool. It's all scary. So the 3D version, that wasn't rigid enough for it. So I'm gonna have to hack through here with the hacksaw, face this off so it's this size on all of them. I'm making a 3 roller bender. One of them won't roll, it will be attached to a bolt what pushes between the two. So hopefully I have a better luck. Maybe the diameter's too big too, I'm not sure. 3 rollers are made. It's going to be sort of in that sort of fashion. This one's going to slide up and down a slot in the base plate. Didn't quite clean up there. My bad hacksawing. That pipe's only 3mm, so I wouldn't worry about the gap in there. Well, that's enough work for today. Good job. Making the pins for the rollers. I used the hacksaw to hacksaw the E-clip hole. That's an E-clip. Or groove. All I gotta do is cut it off here and mark the center line. This one's gonna be the driving wheel. This will be in here, threaded, which will be drilled into here, sitting under there somewhere, and allow the main roller to squish it in. So I've got 2 more of them and drill a hole and tap. Okay, all the rollers are done. Let's see if it works. Give it a bit of a wind here. Maybe not. needed to be wider. But it's alright, we can move those holes. It's pretty close to 90. Oops. We can straighten this section up later. I think it's pink. So the rollers need to be out more, maybe. These two rollers. Let's undo it and see if the bend is okay. That's what we're interested in, really. Okay, what do we got for a bend? Perfect. Come on, focus. We just have to probably move the rollers out. I could drill an extra hole. Maybe so that middle one can fit right in between them, eh? I did make them elongated a bit. Oh, I could live with that. It's not actually that bad. Yeah. Yeah, you probably want to hold the thing out here a bit more. Too close, perhaps. Well, it's good. I like it. It's gonna do the job. And I don't have to pay $80 for one. Move the rollers. Let's see if we get a knee to elbow. Yeah. Close to 90. At that edge. Oh. Pretty close. Alright, so it looks like a much better bend doing it that way. Oh, come on. Up a bit over 90. It's alright, we can straighten it out. It's a bit more bowed than that other one. I reckon it was better the other way. Still sort of, this part of it looks bowed more. I prefer it that way. I did straighten that bit up a bit though. Probably could do the same with that one. Pretty sure that's meant to do that. That's why it's probably it looks more curved, doesn't it? Not as tight. Yeah. I like the other way. Maybe I do go back. There's definitely a difference. Right. That part of the mission's finished. Alright, working on the block of the engine today. I've drilled the tiny little holes. They're 1.5s for tapping and 2mm for clearance in the casing. This is where we'll be putting a shaft in here and for attachment to the generator. But I've got it super glued. I'm going to just take a little thin shaving while the bolts aren't there, and then once I can put the bolts in, I can machine it up properly. If it flings off, I'll leave it as it is, but I'll take the finest little cut, so hopefully it stays on there. Right, super glue actually holds quite well, and I actually only put the super glue around the edges because it's hard to line it up. I had to line it up really perfect, so I lined it up first and then super glued, and then put the tube on the inside and ran it around, just rotated it, and it's actually held on there quite well. I'm surprised. It's amazing you can actually use super glue to hold a surface on and actually face it off. I was only taking like one of these notches at a time. So yeah, it's I think the mini lathe moved somewhere. I gotta work that out. See how there's like this ring here? No matter how fast or slow I go, I get that ring sort of in the same position. So it's somewhere in here and there, like this much travel area. Something moves. I can't see the moving. Maybe because it doesn't really have a carriage lock and it's only locking onto the thread. When I redo this, I'll make a carriage lock. I could have put a carriage lock on the bloody thing, eh? What's the craziness? Tapping the cylinder head hold down bolts, and the worst possible thing happened on the very first hole. The tap is stuck and broken. Can't believe it. I was overconfident after tapping the little Conrod 1.5s. I'm tapping a 2.5 and I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's going to be much stronger. And overconfidence, went too hard, and damn, very first hole. I was using the cotton compound. It says good for tapping and threading, but having better results with grease. And I'm going way slower and moving it out and cleaning it off every 2 threads. Can't afford to break another one. I'm hoping, I've ordered a tungsten carbide end mill, 2mm. I'm hoping I can just bore down in there and rip it out. If not, I'm gonna have to come in with the grinder and the die grinder and then pad weld that section. Or I could just leave it off. So I also might try a larger end mill and plug it and then re-drill it. A couple of options, or I could just leave it. Leaving might be the good option. It's almost like throw the part away. I should have, hindsight, drilled and tapped all these holes before assembling it, and it wouldn't have that problem because I could just chuck that piece away and put a new piece in. Tried everything to get that out. It just won't budge, eh? It's like halfway down, it's protruding slightly at the bottom end of this, and nope, never happening. Today I'm going to be making this piece. I can only get a bit of 40mm stock. I made it longer so I don't waste it. I'll have to cut through it. So this part will go into the end, be welded in through there, and I'll be able to attach the generator to this plate or a pulley, depending how the generator goes, which isn't designed yet for it. So I'll get this set up. It just fits. It's sort of, I'll have to use the magnet for twisting touches, but that'll be alright. Using the live center to support the big thing. I need this much hanging out to put it in the drop saw to cut the end off, because I can't part. This thing doesn't want to part anything. So I just have to turn it down to 30 for this outer piece, and that's 18. So the bolt's clear. Might make it a little bit more than 30. Give it a little bit more meat on the end of these holes. And plenty of room there. I just have to machine up to that blue line. Gives me some space. It's sort of maxed out at the carriage. That would be the maximum 45. That's 40. We could go another 5. I'll take it to there. It wouldn't hold a 50, it'd scrape, but I could poke that tool back in to get 50 if I needed to do a bit of 50. But the jaws, I don't think I'll have to for a piece of 50, I'd have to swap these around. I reckon they're just biting in now. Okay, the main shape's turned down. All I have to do is cut it off here and face this end, and that's ready to go. Fits on there perfect. I made it a bit more larger because for bulk clearance, bolting it to the block through this way, so I can get the bolts in easier. They're only 12mm bolts. I'll use the friction saw to cut that off. I was tapping the last remaining holes. This tap just broke. It was right in here. It was right up to that top piece. Like, if it's going to focus, right to that little broken lip there was level to that thing, the top of that surface. I used the heat gun. I put some oil in there, just plain oil, and heated it up with the air gun just under here, sort of around here, trying not to get any up the top onto this thing, until some smoke started coming out. So it was like 80 to 90 degrees. And I gave it a few taps with the last broken tap I sharpened up to tap into those little grooves. I couldn't get a piece of wire into there because it was 2mm, 2.5 tap, but it's like a hair thickness in between the flutes, so that wouldn't have really helped. And I latched hold of it with the pliers as hard as I could and went wiggle, 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 and then I didn't think it was moving for a while, and then all of a sudden I saw that edge over this side, and it was like, oh, thank you. I think that hole's not deep enough yet for this little 2.5mm. I did start them all, and I was on the final run of getting the depth right, but I'm gonna have to wait for another tap because I definitely don't think this one is deep enough. find out in a second. Only has to have about 6 mil. Yeah, nope, it's not. The other ones may not be deep enough either. Then I haven't checked them. But I did measure down from the tapping tool to the hole. I got these all down to 28. So I'll check them in a minute. Oh, but that was a lucky call. Oh, it would have been like a disaster. I don't know what I would have done. I didn't really want to cut down that corner. It's going to stuff up all that sort of stuff, the holes. As it is, I have to, oh, it's on the dodgy end, is it? I don't have my glasses on me. Is it the one what's already broken? No, it's not. What is it? No, there's the broken one over here. So there's one jammed in there, I can't get out, no matter what I do. Continue. Just check the depth of all the other holes and they're all good. I could have probably stopped a bit earlier and that tap wouldn't have broken in that hole. I still have to do this one. The reason it probably came out was because I tapped like 2 threads, backed it out, blew out the hole, redid it, did another 2 turns, pulled it out, cleaned it and repeated that. It's taken me like nearly 2 hours to tap. Well, this one's got still half tapped. So I sort of went around, started them all first to get some good threads, and I cleaned all the holes out, and I repeated, and cleaned them all out, and then repeated until I got down to the desired step. I was just on the last one. So I can still probably machine that up today maybe, but I might wait until I get that other bolt. And I can position this, bore the hole. I've got the shaft half done. What goes will go into the hole, welded on the back side. I just have to hacksaw that off. Not looking forward to that. I could cold saw it, but if anything goes wrong, I don't have enough thickness. I'm going to tap this instead of bolting with nuts and bolts. So if I tap that, I'm going to put M5, so I should be alright. I don't normally break an M5.